if you're gonna die tomorrow, are you happy that you have work? You are working on the job you're working.
Yeah, currently, right?
Yeah, currently. So if not, then why? It's really important that what we have covered, put out a list what you like about this job and what you dislike about this job, and thirdly, I think the most importantly is a lot of people doesn't want to change is because they feel like that's what's their comfort zone.
This is Andrian.
And this is Ray. Welcome to the Talk Live podcast.
Every 2 weeks, we'll invite a new guest and
In every session, we'll dig into the life, relationships, and perspectives.
one question at a time.
Let's talk live!
Yay.
Welcome to the Talk La podcast. So this is part 2 with Tiffany. So I think part 1 we covered. We're very blessed to have Tiffany to cover her whole journey battling through cancer. But this time it's something more different. It's about her career style. Not to say career style, but her journey through different careers. Because I think why Tiffany is able to... We wanted to cover this topic because she have went through not the very conventional path of career where you go in, you promote, you go deep. And I think this is what a lot of people think that is a normal path in life. But I think today and in this episode, we want to cover more that, okay, there's not one path that you need to follow and how to actually follow that calling to pivot to a different industry. What's the trigger points? I think we'll cover all that very interesting topics that, you know, young people out there, especially when you're having 1 to 2 or 3 years experience, you're always challenging and asking yourself, when should I quit? When should I quit? When should I leave? And then I think in this episode, we want to cover more on these topics. So without further ado, I think, Tiffany, you can share briefly on your whole career journey, the different roles that you've done, and then I think we can dive into, you know, the mindset behind why you make those decisions.
Sure. So I started off knowing what I wanted when I was in high school.
Okay.
So I have a huge passion. Well, I had a huge passion.
Past tense.
Yes, I had a huge passion towards fashion industry. So I know that I'm not talented enough to be a designer. So I know that I will go into fashion business or even be a buyer. So once I graduated, I studied fashion business right away.
Okay.
And after my graduations, I got hired as a merchandiser in Lane Crawford and really started out my career. I thought that like everything went smoothly, is exactly what I've planned it. But then when I started the job, it's quite the opposite from what I imagined.
Okay.
And it's well, so when people like look into the fancy, you know, fashion industry,
Yep.
like about runway shows, like pretty clothes, and then you dress like
Supermodels every day.
day. But then the fact is, you work really, really hard, and hard as in you don't really deal with clothes or whatever product you're working with. So back then I was working with high jewelry. So, but then my majority time was spending on Excels, like 90%. So numbers. So what color sells best, what size sells best, and then you, based on those numbers, you take orders. And then it's actually quite boring.
Okay.
And it's not my expectations. It's nothing like what I imagined. And even you got to, you know, have business trips, it's really harsh. Like you have to, because back then when I just joined, I saw my manager heading to LA and coming back within 48 hours for a business trip.
Wow. Haven't even customized to the jet lag and then already
No,
have to come
you
back.
you don't have jet lag. You have to work like 48 hours straight. Even on the plane, you have to work on the reports, and then when you landed, go straight to your vendors and then talk and then do business, and then 12 hours later go back to the plane and fly back. I mean, is this the life I want? Because I thought it's like, oh, traveling to Milan, to Paris, to, you know, have fun. But it's something like, you know, Emily in Paris, that's so fake.
Yeah.
It's nothing
Okay.
like that. So it's very stressful time for me because I thought that's what I wanted, but then it's literally not what I wanted. So what should I do? So I do plan. So I do have, okay, maybe it's the product.
Yeah.
Like I was working on with the jewelry department, so maybe it's actually women's wear that I like.
Yep.
So I changed to
Okay.
another luxury company,
Okay.
Dolce & Gabbana, and become a women's wear merchandiser.
Yep.
So I thought, okay, this might be a new start, and then I might, really like the role I was going to do.
Yep.
But then after a week, I'm like, no, this is even worse.
Okay. Okay. Very cool. I think the whole fashion industry, merchandising, I know high level as a end customer, yeah. But I think Tiffany shared really great points that fashion isn't all glamorous at all, especially when sometimes in the trips and everything it is, but sounds from what Tiffany have shared, it's like no, it's like very, yeah, very, very, yeah. But I think I want to jump to the point that so from young you already know that you have a very, very strong passion for fashion.
Yeah.
And you realistically also know that you don't have at least you are self-aware that you're not strong in design, right? Or you don't have a talent for it, but you still want to be close in the industry,
Right.
and that's why you did fashion. So that passion led you to you wanted to study this, and then because you studied that, you landed Lane Crawford should be one of the leading merchandisers, I think, in the region, right?
Yeah.
Or at least the very least in Hong Kong. I think it's probably the biggest, if
Yes.
not, yeah, in the region, right? Yeah, and then from there, then you realize that that's a mismatch. So I want to ask you, how did you deal with that mismatch, right? Did it sort of shook you, all this while since you're in high school, you want to do this, and now you're at the job, and it's your first job somewhere, right?
Right.
So that must be how do you take all that? Because I can share my perspective on how I dealt mine. Yeah, but I think I just want to.
Well, mine is it's tough because all your dreams is sort of shattered.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, what should I do
What's next, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So that's one of the reasons why I changed to women's wear, because I know that I don't like jewelry. So maybe
Oh, really? That's quite rare. Women don't like jewelry.
well
But I mean, from a work perspective, yeah, it's very different.
yeah. So I hate it because
Okay.
it's quite boring. Every diamond is the same to me.
I wish all women out there or girls understand this. Yes, all diamonds are actually the same.
So if my boyfriend's listening to this, still I want a good diamond.
Okay, we'll make that happen. Yeah.
Well, just kidding. And so I sort of I know that what I hate. I still don't know what I like because everything I thought I like is not what I really like. So I change it bit by bit. So first I changed it to women's wear.
Yep.
And then I found I hate it even worse. So I put it out on a checklist
Yep.
jewelry is a no. Women's wear is a no.
Yep.
So probably buying is a no for me.
Yep.
But what I like about this job what makes me sustain for another 2 years is I actually like account managing. So whenever I talk to some vendors and maybe they will have a trunk show with Lane Crawford back then. I actually like the creation of a trunk show because it involves a little bit creativity and you are able to work with different people. That's the point I like about it. So I sort of so I should get a job with account managing, relating. So back then it's a huge, I would say a leap of faith by quitting fashion industry.
Yep.
Because that was totally out of what I have been studying for the past 5 years. And then I am actually quitting the profession that I thought I would be.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's what else can I lose?
Yep.
I was earning only 15K per month. And
Wow, I didn't know Lane Crawford, but I do know, yeah, there's like Big Four, like as a starting part, it's
Yeah.
pretty harsh.
Yeah.
If you need to rent the place on your own, yeah, it's just
it's
very, very tough.
impossible. So I'm like, that's all I lost.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
true.
I can take the risk.
Yep.
Well, if you have listened to the first episode, you know I'm a risk taker.
Yeah.
So yeah, I literally quit merchandiser in Dolce Gabbana without any offer
backup
yet.
yet, right?
Yeah. So I didn't only search on LinkedIn or JobsDB, like people will search those jobs, but I literally search on Google, like what job
for account management.
for account manager. I actually search skills that I have to see what job I sort of match with.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So that's actually opened my eyes. And then by luck, these, Wantedly platform just launched like 1 month ago.
Yep.
So they're looking for a client success.
Yeah,
So-
can you briefly also share what Wantedly is
Oh,
so
yeah,
that
yeah,
people will know? Yeah.
So Wantedly is actually a job platform targeting millennials. Their motto is work drives passion. So they different from other platforms. They really focus on what the company is like, what the company values is, what the mission is. So if your mission matches the company, you'll like your job. That's the rationale.
Yeah, I like the idea, but
It's
I-
tough. It's tough.
I love the concept, the objective, the mission behind it. But I think as a company, you have targets and quota to meet, right?
Right.
How do you balance those two when you need to meet a quota, and then like do you misplace people to the wrong thing, or how? Yeah.
Well,
so,
we don't really place people.
Yeah.
So what I do is as an account manager
Yep.
in Wantedly, I help company do employer branding. So I bring out the story within them.
Okay.
So I have to make it's not make it's all
I know,
it's
it's
all
all
true.
real, but
It's
you-
all real.
It's how you want to
Add the spice
Yep.
and then add like
Got it.
something eye-catching to turn into a fascinating story which makes people feel like, oh my god, I really want to work for this company, because that's how I got trapped by Wantedly.
No, but I think for good reasons, right?
Yeah.
And then I think for those that are still following, right? So Tiffany basically pivoted from within merchandising or like fashion, let's put it as fashion in general, right? And then she decided that it mismatched on the industry. Like she tried, like it's not like she just did Lane Crawford, right? She tried a different area, like women's wear.
Explore more.
So she went like in-house, like to directly under luxury brand Dolce Gabbana, which I have no clue about. Yeah, but I know this brand. Yeah. And then I relate to this checklist thing, because like that's how I make decision
Oh, really?
for what I want to achieve in life. If it's something that I really have no clue on. Like what I want to study in university, that's a very big question, right? I
Right.
use a checklist method. Like I don't want, like I know I'm not good in math, science, I decided not to be engineering, nothing related to science. So that just led to arts, business, and I realized like, okay, business is general enough for me to do. So it's like really a checklist kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then I slowly narrow down to,
Right.
So in university, I'm like, okay, just business. And then business is so big.
Right.
I do the checklist method by the internships that I did in, which one resonated with me the most. And then I was like, technology was really good. So I then narrowed down technology. So I think my life has sort of been like, I really resonate with
Sort
the
it
checklist.
out.
Yeah. And then trying before you actually check things out.
Right. Exactly.
But there's no way that you're going to be able to check out everything, because there's just not so much time in life.
Right,
So you have
right.
to make calculated decision, like based on the things that you try, you'll be able to check off a few things at once,
Right.
without trying it. But that's at your own risk, but it will normally give you a much better idea without, instead of you just saying like, stick to it and everything.
And, yeah. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I hate this job, but what you hate it about?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Everyone hates that. I mean, I
in
was-
general, well, we
that-
don't want to work for life.
yeah, financial freedom, but you gotta work for it, right?
Yeah.
But there are jobs that as long as some parts of it that you like, yeah, that's what keeps you going. And I think the work that you're helping your customers, which are MNCs, I would imagine, or like any companies that are employing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Help them message the story,
Mm-hmm.
the branding objective,
Mm-hmm.
because it's targeting young millennials, right?
Yeah.
Young adults. So I think that is very important.
Mm-hmm.
We need to resonate with the mission of the company, and of course the culture is very important.
Yes, exactly.
And then that will help you attract young talents.
Yeah.
And of course compensation is important, but that's all.
Yeah, that's actually the least important. Well,
Oh, okay.
from wanted perspective, of
Mhm.
course, well, everybody needs
Yep.
money to
Yep.
survive,
Yep.
especially in Hong Kong. But
Yep.
then, that matters so much that you have to sacrifice whatever you like to do or your dreams.
That's true. Yeah.
That's the point. Well, we have to think about it. I don't think anyone can do it because it really depends on your background, your financial burdens, your
Yes,
whatsoever.
for
But
sure.
then you still have the opportunity, or you can still thought about it and plan it according to your ability, or according to whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, I agree. But I think, it really varies person to person, and I think that's more on the nitty gritty on how you match with the vendor. Yeah, what's their budget and everything. But not gonna touch too much details on that. But I think there's something also very interesting that we can touch on, because Wantedly, it's it IPO'd in Japan, right? But then it's expanding in local markets across the region, right? And I want to touch a bit more about the story on how you were employee number 4 and how that whole, we know that you really wanted, you're keen to explore new roles outside of fashion, because you know, okay, I'm so done with it, even though it's your passion. But I know that you still like fashion, I mean, for those that want to see Tiffany, you can tune in on YouTube. Then you can see, based on when I saw her, she was wearing boots. I'm like, wow, okay, very cool. So you can incorporate things that you like still in your life, but you just don't have to make it your living.
Yes, exactly. I'm so done at a point, when you're working in fashion brands, you have a lot of discounts. I'm screw that. I would rather pay it in full price than working here to get the discount.
That's how they retain you, right? And then but anyway, going back to Wantedly, right? Because that's a very interesting part of your life that also, is also a turning point and gave you a lot of room to grow professionally and also as a person, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I would say in the years I was with Wantedly was my fastest growing moment or period within my entire life, because everything was so eye-opening. I was growing in corporate culture. Everything has a standard rule, has standard guidelines. Even emails have their own templates. You are literally like a machine.
Oh, so cool. I don't have any templates.
Oh,
but I mean,
I have a lot of templates.
Cool. Maybe you can share some offline.
Yeah.
But just kidding.
So when I get into Wantedly, first, back then I don't know what startup is. Secondly, I don't know what client success is. Thirdly is I don't know how to work things from scratch, because when I really start on my first date, I don't even know how to use a MacBook.
Because
I have been using
Windows.
I've been using Windows. So
thanks for supporting Microsoft. My personal laptop is a Mac too, so you gotta have an open mindset.
You have to try everything. So I literally my GM who hired me took a photos on next week this is your working table, this is your Mac, you have a tote bag, you're going to a co-working space. So I'm like, whoa, so cool, everything is so cool. And I actually went to those Apple free lessons to learn how to use Mac before I really get into the job.
Wow, you're really a good employee.
So just in case, I don't want to be embarrassed.
Okay, cool.
I thought Apple is cool. So that's what I prepare myself. But then when I really start a job, is really different from what I have been taught about working. And you know, when working in startup, especially everything is in scratch. Because Hong Kong is a really new market for Japan. They just come in for a month. So I literally have to set up all the pipelines, like no templates, how I respond to clients, what's the next step, how to get them on board. And these are, I have to say, I have no experience on doing it myself, but then I have a good enough knowledge from my past experience to, you know, help me build on what I should do next step. And I make a lot of mistakes, but then you can learn a lot faster by making these mistakes. And then I feel like I can still afford those mistakes. And afterwards, you know, you have a lot of, you know, pricing, how to retain your clients after they got on board, because we were growing quite fast. And then
the retention.
And most importantly, I was in fashion. I was not in HR. How I, you know, position myself as an expertise to my clients, you know. My colleague has his motto, always telling me that fake it till you make it. So, and I trust it. And whenever I encounter something, well, Google do help me a lot. I literally Google everything, YouTube everything. For example, back then we have to launch a CRM system, HubSpot, from scratch. And then I was like, oh my God, it's a mess.
Wait, you're doing it for Wantedly or?
For Wantedly.
Okay. Not for your customer, right?
Not for my customer. So I do it for Wantedly, which I actually take freelancers.
To learn how to use HubSpot, right?
No, I actually, after I finished building HubSpot for Wantedly, I take freelance to help people build HubSpot.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would never explore these part of the world, which will be the new normal, I would say, faster than other people. And I'm so glad that I take this chance, or take this leap of faith, when I was still confused. Yeah.
I think that is, I think just, it's really jam-packed on different things. But just to give some context, Wantedly was then very new in Hong Kong. They had employee number 1, and then they were scaling a team. So it was basically a country manager. And then the business, like, how are you going to localize it, build a product, go to market? So all that very, very interesting stuff. And whatever Tiffany mentioned, like pricing, and I think Tiffany was like leading the client success part. Like how to retain customers, how to cross-sell, upsell more services.
And I think one thing I like about this job is because back then, even we have like 4 different team leading different teams like marketing, BD, and I belong to client success. But then we basically cover each other assets.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's all you got. You go to events, you help BD to
find leads,
and then pass on leads, and then you do marketing. And especially back then, the marketing guy was from the US. He is a Chinese, but then he was born and raised in the US. So for marketing, he is doing a really good job, but then how to localize it. And turns out I was actually the only really local person, because most of them are not born and raised in Hong Kong or study abroad for a long term. So that was an interesting part. I have no experience on that, but then I just used my my own personal Facebook and Instagram browsing experience to put it into Wantedly and just test it out. And I am very surprised that one of my suggestion turns into the hottest product that is selling good even today. And I'm like, that is the most rewarding moment in my journey in Wantedly.
And I think just diving deep into like the process or your decision making
Mm-hmm.
to move. I think high level we know like okay you really had or try enough in the fashion that you wanted to move
Mm-hmm.
into something else, and somehow Wantedly was one of the golden gems
Right.
that I think it's two ways, right? Like
Mhm.
one, like okay, they were looking for someone, and number two, like you also found them. So I
Yes.
think like both of you like sort of like merged together, and I think it was good. But yeah, however great Wantedly is, right? There are some stuff like okay, not all good things will last forever, right?
Mm.
And I think I also want you to share this part, like what triggered you, because you also like so Tiffany also like unfortunately also have like this throughout the time at Wantedly, you also have like got diagnosed cancer, right?
Right.
And that sort of like changed the dynamic, even though like okay, Wantedly provide the platform, but you had a new calling or something, right?
Right.
So I also wanted you to share about, yeah, even though you are in a very happy place, you're in a growing team, you're leading things,
Mm-hmm.
taking initiative, and you're rewarded for it, right? You get recognition.
Yes.
What more can you ask for as like someone in the 20s, right?
Mhm.
It's very rare that people can have that opportunity.
Yeah.
But how did you, can you share to the audience like what
Sure.
that moment was, and then how that calling sort of shift and now you're doing something completely different
Right.
again? Yeah.
So, well, we did discuss about my cancer journey in episode 1. So, that is actually the turning point on me have to look for a new job and truly finding my callings. So, so when I got cancer, one thing I have been holding on to is whether you're happy about what you're doing. Are you enjoying your life? And after the besides, because I gone through chemo and then now at stage 4, I don't know when I'm gonna recover. I know that I can't be as hustle as before.
Oh, got it.
So I know that I can't work with in a corporate or a
Or
company.
startup, right? Like
yeah,
it's like
or
a growing startup.
Yeah, I can't be that. I can't devote that much of my time because I can't bear the loss.
Yeah.
So so that's what. So what else I can do? So one thing is, I was exploring as well.
Yeah.
Like I try to build HubSpot as a freelancer for other people.
Okay.
But then I feel like, but so what? I'm just helping them to build a platform. It's not something I really enjoy. Well, I do like the job, but then what's more?
Fulfillment, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't
what's
meet-
more? And sometimes I ask myself, if God give me another chance to live a full life, what can I contribute to the world? Not like I want to be someone really great, but then at least I feel like I am doing something meaningful. And back then, Wantedly, saying work drives passion. So I'm really figuring out what is my passion. So my experience as a cancer patient, I'm lucky enough that I got insurance at when I started working. So after 4 years, I got diagnosed. And, for these 2 years, I have spent about 2 million
$2 million.
in Hong Kong dollars for my spending, my treatments, whatever.
Your recovery journey. Okay.
And throughout that, when I look back, no matter how hard I work, I don't think I can
For sure.
get 2 million
Yeah.
within 4 years. So that moment I realized insurance is actually really important to, especially to the younger people, because they cannot afford the expenses.
And their family cannot like afford it, right? They
Well,
need-
even
yeah.
they can.
It's really
do you
not.
want to rely on
Exactly,
them?
yeah.
And
So-
then so that sparks a bit of the idea of insurance industry could be something that I wanted to do. So I'm not recruited by any teams, but I do explore different companies and different teams because I was educated in Wantedly. Like culture is really important.
For sure.
The motive or the motivation of the teams is really important. It defines like how you work.
Yeah.
So that's how I explore this new job, which for information, I hated really badly when I was, younger, like few years ago.
You mean insurance?
Yes,
Oh, you did insurance when you first
No,
started?
no, no. But I sort of.
The impression, right?
Yes, the
Like when you think
impression
about-
is
when
bad.
I know. I can completely relate to that. Like people when they think about agents in general, like
Yeah.
property. I think we were just discussing in like we have another episode that we're talking about
Mhm.
sales. Like
Mhm.
people just have very bad impression
Right.
of agents, no matter what agent, because they always think they want to eat your money, eat your
Yeah,
commission.
yeah, exactly.
Yes or no, right? I mean, it all comes from the heart and the purpose. Yeah, like what
Yeah.
work drives passion, right?
Yeah, exactly. But back then, this
Yeah.
selling thing was so deep in my mind that I never
You
want to
won't
be a
consider-
sales.
You won't
Like,
consider it, right?
Yeah, even wantedly asked me to become a BD. I said, no, I don't want to sell anything. I would like to serve my clients. I would serve them nicely, but then I don't want to sell.
Yep.
But then a year later, I turned into an insurance agent, and then my GM was so surprised, like, what, I have been convincing you for like few months you don't want to change to sales team, but now you got into the toughest sales industry, which is insurance. So, but then I told him like, it's different. After I consider it, I study it online, and with my own experience, I knew that I want to make a change in this industry. I want to tell people, well, at least I want to, me as an example, telling people,
Advocate to others, right?
yes, like insurance is, first, they are not lying. They're not like trying to cap your money, but then it's something that important and is essential, especially for young generation or the millennials when you are thriving at your early 20s.
Yeah, I completely resonate with that. Get insured as soon as you can when you actually have your first job. Yeah. Like I'm late already, but yeah, I did explore different plans and now I'm on one. Yeah, I won't share it. Yeah, but then like if you're interested, yeah, you can reach out to Tiffany.
Sure.
Like, we also will get like I'm planning to get someone that have also pivoted like into the insurance industry too to cover more on that because I think I went through his journey, but even though I didn't like sign a plan with him, but I think it's good to have people in the industry to really demystify it.
Well,
so
at least I am not coming from. Well, I really need to earn my commission because
you're purpose driven.
Yes, I'm purpose driven, and I was actually part of the beneficiary, and then I come from a perspective as an patient. I'm telling you, here's my bills. That's how much I spent.
Yeah.
Do you have the money ready? And that's all you need. I don't want you to get too much. Just enough for
coverage,
for your medical it's crazy enough to have that coverage.
Yeah. I think just one final point before moving back to the career side of things is that insurance is important. I think everyone should have the minimum coverage. Whether you can think of it as like, oh, you're wasting money, but it's do a comfortable amount that's enough for you to cover it. Don't go overboard, because why go overboard? Because if you do get some critical illness, then it's bad for you, right? But I mean, then you have like a hedge. You treat insurance as a hedge. You don't want to like bet your life savings on you get some critical illness. But of course now they're very smart. They structure it into everything, but that's up to your own decision making and research. But just the basic critical illness, I think that's a must.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, wow, I sound like a insurance agent. Yeah, but I think going back.
Well, I'm glad that you understand it like at a relatively early age, because at least for me back then, right before I got cancer, I really want to cancel my plan.
Oh yeah, thank God you didn't.
Yes.
Because you never know.
I really never know, because I thought I was healthy,
Yeah.
And then,
yeah.
Well, FYI, actually, exercising doesn't mean you are healthy.
Okay, I should stop exercising. Yeah. Okay, just joking. Yeah, but I think this is all very interesting, very casual topics, but very real life lessons. And when you ask me like, oh, how I actually know all this, it's like just by talking to people that are like older, and then they say, oh, this XYZ have helped me here and there. Yeah. Then based on that, I also did my own research, talked to agents from different companies,
Mm-hmm.
and they also guide me through the journey. But of course, you need to be very clear, or else you'll be swayed around.
Right.
Yeah. So I think yeah, I got a lot of good support around.
Well,
and friends.
at least you understand it. You do your
Yeah.
research, and then you know what risk you are taking, and
Yeah.
then the rest is up to your decision.
Yeah. And I saw just wanted to wrap up on the part because Tiffany, you actually went across within the industry and cross industry a couple of times to
Right.
something very different, right? So we did discuss on like when we should make a switch, right? Like, okay, whether when we look at managers and then do we want to be like them or do you feel fulfilled on that? But how do you actually go through that like when's the time where you tell yourself like I need to leave?
Well,
Yeah, I think this is gonna be very useful for a lot of people listening, right? Because a lot of people like day in day out, 9 out of 10 times or 8 out of 10 times when you ask someone, "Oh, are you happy with your job?" A lot of people are just either normal, they're just okay, I'll do it for the pay. They're not fulfilled. They're not doing purpose driven work. So a lot of them, oh, let's do 1 more year, 2 more year, and then they end up staying there for a long time. Or if they switch, then they're like, I should have done it way earlier.
right.
So when, like from your experiences, when is like the cutting point, or like what framework did you use if you had any?
I
that you
think
can share?
the very important one is can you see yourself working in this position for the next 5 years? I wouldn't even say 10 years,
Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, same, if you're gonna die tomorrow, are you happy that you have work? You are working on the job you're working.
Yeah, currently, right?
Yeah, currently. So if not, then why? It's really important that what we have covered, put out a list what you like about this job and what you dislike about this job, and thirdly, I think the most importantly is a lot of people doesn't want to change is because they feel like that's what's the comfort zone. But then comfort zone is a very fake term. To be very honest, the job you don't like it, how can you call it your comfort zone? You're not comfortable at all. You dislike it. You don't want to go up to work every morning. You hate Mondays. So you're not comfortable. So why don't you? You're not jumping out of your comfort zone. You're actually just switching to another discomfort zone that you have never explored. So don't really frame yourself that, oh my God, I have been working this for 3 years. If I quit, I have to start it over again. What's wrong with starting over again? And if you don't start now, when? Right? Because your opportunity cost will only build up year by year. You're spending 3 years on the same job. You have learned enough. Well,
got it.
You have learned enough what you should have learned, and you should bring that experience to help you explore new things. So don't treat it as like, oh, start it over again. You are actually building your future with the experience you get from the job you dislike.
Yep.
There's always something you can learn.
Yep.
So take it, absorb it, and then bring it to your next journey. It doesn't have to be within the same industry or within the same role. Whatever you want to explore that you don't have a checklist yet. For example, you are now working as, for example, as sales, but you haven't never put into to experience what marketing is like. Yep. So you can't tell whether you like it or not. Yep. Then bring your sales experience to marketing, to a role that have marketing exposure, but at the same time can use your previous skills that you enjoy working with. Yeah. I think that's really important. Yeah. So when you have had enough for the in the same company, same role, and you don't see any improvement, but just, go deeper and deeper and become a professional within the field, it doesn't mean anything. It just means you work a lot of years for the same job, but you didn't really broaden your horizon. Yeah. So yeah.
No, I think that's really, really great perspective. I think my co-host Andren also resonate with that. He did make the point that, which is exactly what you said. Like, people normally move to something that they are more comfortable with, but that's still within the same thing, which doesn't make them more fulfilled. Probably like compensation and everything, but I think it all draws down to whatever you want in life, right? I mean, if money is something that you sought after, that's fine. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to live your life, but I think in this podcast we're here like, okay, outside of money, there are more things that you need to cater for.
I think for money, well, I totally respect people. Like, if you want to do it for the money, then only focus on how, like,
and more money,
more money. Not when you get a really high paid job and then you're complaining, oh, I hate this job, like, oh, it's not exciting enough, it's not what I want. Because back then your sole purpose is money, and then
they should be comfortable with that, right? Because you have to think about the end result. If money is the thing that they want, then they technically should be okay to sacrifice whatever that their fulfillment or the life purpose or objective that they want to do.
Yes, because your priorities was money.
Yeah.
But if you changed your priority, then you should think about how to work towards the priority.
Completely agree. Yeah. And I also I really like the point that you say everything has an opportunity cost, right? So for example, like the way you think about it, like structure it. I think as a listener or like from that, I think like that's quite insightful, right? When you're doing a job that you feel you already sort of learned everything, the only way, like, okay, either to broaden your job scope or like try different things, unless you're fulfilled, then obviously broaden it to cover more regions. Then it makes sense. But if not, then probably see there's an opportunity cost of you trying other stuff and then taking that skill set that you already know to potentially something that you might like or get more fulfilled in that period of time. So I really like that framework to think about it. If you think of it, there's an opportunity cost, then it's easy to flip the switch.
Yes.
Like there's some urgency. So I like that. And I think that was like a very valid takeaway from my side. So I think just to close out a bit, we've discussed so much about, pivoting to different careers, when to, pull the trigger, what's the whole process for you. But what's next? What's the future for you? We know that your mindset now is like, okay, if you live a day, it's already a small win for you. And I'm very happy to see you finding something that is, close to your calling at this stage to, advocate on, prevention and like critical illness insurance is very useful. But what's next for you? Like, if you think about it.
So a lot of people are pretty surprised because I actually opened a lot of projects. Like I started a lot of projects on my own. Like first, I just joined insurance industry for a few months, and that's a really new thing, still learning. Secondly, I started my YouTube and really
Is it up already?
It's up already.
It's up already. Like, what's the YouTube name?
Cheung, Cheungtinn.
Okay. We'll check it out later.
Yeah, that's my YouTube and as well as my Instagram. Okay. So another route I'm going to is I want to share my cancer journey to reach out to people who needs help. Because back then when I was got diagnosed, that I was very very lost because I couldn't find similar cases like me. So I want to be the one who share my experience. You might not have the same cancer, but at least someone is going through similar things with you, and I have emotions. It's normal that you feel something like that, and how I get through it. So I wish I can be the supporter or the listener who can really show empathy to them from what I have experienced. And I am actually working on another project called it actually doesn't have an English name, but then it's called 逆風轉向.
Okay.
So it's I would not say it's a fun because the money it raised is really small, but then it helped people who suffered from serious sickness, no matter it's physically or mentally. These disease or these period really give them a pause that they thought that their life is ending. They don't have the ability to chase their dreams. They have to give up a lot of things. But then I want to have this project set up because to encourage these people. You still have your ability to chase your dream. You can still achieve things that you want to do, no matter whatever support you need. Maybe, for example, as a cancer patient, maybe like me, I can't work in corporate company anymore because I can't work that long and then I can take that stress. So you need new skills to cope with that. How about if the certain amount of money and network can help you create a new path to achieve your callings? And I think that's very important. So I want to help with that. Yeah.
Very cool. I feel like the more questions I ask, like, you share a lot of stuff that I want to ask more, but I think
I'm so sorry.
I think hopefully everyone out there, if you're still tuning in, appreciate Tiffany's sharing and openness, and I hope things in the future down the road goes well, and hopefully you'll really be cancer free.
Yes.
And lots more to come in life, and really appreciate your sharing. So just by closing off, I just hope if for those really hardcore fans out there that are listening the whole way, we know it's like a long episode, 45 minutes, but if you found it, I'm sure you found it value if you're still listening now, do share it to your friends, family members that you think can benefit from this, or planning to switch roles, etc. So would really appreciate your support, and stay tuned for the next one. All right, thanks so much, Tiffany, for your time. All right, bye bye.